What's up, everybody? Me and JC back to break down the NFL this week. We're going to do the NFL and NBA all as one show just because we don't got spread on here to fill time. We're going to get this all done pretty efficiently. Our guy's in Vegas spending some time with his girl. So, JC, how are you doing today? How was NFL for you this weekend and NBA?
I'm doing great, man. It was a much better week. Had a rough last 2 weeks, but man, back on top. Positive weekend. Yeah, no, I'm excited. This is going to be such a different show with just you and me. We're just gonna get through it, get to the point. No pussyfooting around like we do with spread. No, hopefully no rants. I don't know where they'd come in, but should be a nice, clean show for the people.
Yeah, maybe one or two little arguments on some games, but I don't think we're gonna have any rants about anything crazy. But we'll start with that early game. I mean, me and you both took an L there. Our guy Spread's here not here to take his victory lap on the Chiefs.
No.
They beat up on Miami, and we talked about before the show started. I thought Miami almost looked scared, and they just didn't want to play in that first half. Then you have a lateral backyard fumble return for a touchdown just to wipe it in their face towards the second half was coming around. They tried to come back in the second half, but they just couldn't do it. So, I mean, they started slow. And for a team that got there on Monday versus the team that got there late in the week, they just did not look good. What were your thoughts there?
No, totally agree with that. Man, credit to the defense on that touchdown there right before halftime. What a heads-up play. To just hand it to him right there and then for him just to take it to the house. I mean, that was quite literally a difference maker in this game. I understand people's qualms with Miami. I think fraud is still a strong term, though. I think, if anything, Tua was not clutch. Like, in both this game and the Eagles game, they were on a game-winning drive. Like, they had a chance to win the game. They were moving the ball well downfield, and then, boom, against the Eagles, Tua throws an interception. Here, 3rd and 10. I don't know what happened on that pass to Wilson. He was wide open, but it was just, came off his hand wrong or whatever. And then 4th and 10, fumble. So there are obviously concerns against the team in a big game. And, like when the playoffs roll around, I understand that those concerns are there. But it's not, I think fraud is just too strong of a word. I think it's unfair. Like, I just don't think they're comparable to like last year's Giants and last year's Vikings.
Yeah, I won't say they're not as much of a fraud as those two teams were. Like, those two teams, like the Vikings with the 1-score wins, it was just like you were 11-0 in those games. Like, that was just luck we will never see again. The Giants caught some of the easiest breaks last year, and you see it with they didn't make any changes to the rosters, and they rolled into this year. I know injuries have killed them in other spots too, but that roster wasn't going anywhere fully healthy. But yeah, I think Miami, I was the one calling them a fraud too. I don't want to fully put the label on them yet. Yeah. I think they're more front runners. Like, once they get behind, it's like, well, now our little shiny plays that we like to run, like if these don't work, now we look stupid doing all these motions and everything, these fake handoffs going a different direction. Like, it's all fun when you're up 20 doing them and they don't go anywhere. But when you're down 20 and they don't go anywhere, it's like, all right, now what are we doing? So I think they need to be in front. Once they fall behind a few scores, it's not where they want to be.
Well, the other thing too is like, okay, the two big losses, Philly and the Chiefs. These are the two teams that were in the Super Bowl, so it's not a bad place to be. And I think that's the other kind of tough part about accurately reading this team is they're playing bottom feeders, terrible teams, and then like the top team in the NFC and the top team in the AFC. Like, they're not playing,
They're not playing a tough schedule, And the third loss they have is a divisional team that usually beats up on them. So it's like you can't really take much from that either. So
especially that game was in Buffalo. So it's like give them. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of an appropriate team now.
Just the fun hypothetical right now. Who you taking on a neutral? Miami or Cincinnati?
Oh, jeez. I mean, I'd probably still stick with Miami, but. Oh, Cincinnati, you said. I'm sorry. I was thinking Cleveland.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to go Cincinnati. On that one.
I think if I'm power ranking the AFC, I know you couldn't put Cincy ahead of Miami last week with the records, but I think now's the time. Cincy's on their way up.
Yeah, and I don't think Cincinnati's obviously better than their record would indicate. Like, the way they're playing, they are now playing like they're probably the first or second best team in the AFC.
Yeah, they're playing very well. And here, instead of going through every game like we normally do and giving our takes on those, let's just get all the shitters out of the way real quick.
I love it. What a great way to approach.
Rams, Packers. Do we have anything from that with the backup quarterbacks? Jordan Love looked all right, but it's like, what do you have to do to beat Brett Ripien led Rams? The Browns blanked Clayton Tune. Fully understandable there. That offense looked bad. The one game I think we do have to talk about that was a blowout. The Ravens just dominate the NFC. I mean, we all thought Seattle had a chance there, and they didn't have a shot whatsoever. They couldn't even get a touchdown on the board. Baltimore just continues to make these wins look good, but I am still not sold on this team. How about you?
No, I think Baltimore's a very good team as is, but again, it's just we're all waiting for Lamar to go down. So kind of like the Dolphins play on like week 15. Not worried about it because I'm sure Lamar Jackson will be injured by then. I think the way they're playing right now is very impressive. If the playoffs started next week, I'd probably have them in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, if they're another team, I don't want to categorize them fully as being a front runner team, but I still don't trust Lamar fully to come from behind in games.
Oh, that's fair.
Just because I think it's still it's like if they went down 21-0 in a game early, some mistakes. I think just in his head, he's still gonna want to now we're down. What works the most for me? Running. He's going to go back to his running, which just keeps the clock going. Unless he breaks you a couple touchdowns, which he could possibly do, but it's very hard to do that sometimes. I think that this team, they get down a couple scores, they're in big trouble. They're not fighting back from that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And especially when you look at yesterday, 3 of the 4 touchdowns were rushing touchdowns. I know 2 of them were down and close, but still they're very.
And how about their rookie running back that showed up yesterday, Mitchell? 9 rushes.
Ooh, man, that 40-yard run. Ooh. Yeah, but again, that just goes to it's harder to run the ball if you're playing from behind.
Yep. Yeah, those runs don't happen if you're behind. When you're up 27-0, you could easily run the ball there. So another game I don't think we have much of.
Hang on real quick. What do you think of Seattle now?
I mean, I wasn't fully as high on them. I think they're one of the better teams in the NFC, but I never thought they were a real threat at the top. Could they win that division with the way San Fran's stumbling around? Yes, but taking losses like that doesn't look very good. Geno Smith's gonna have bad games, and that was just a bad one.
I mean, that's what's crazy about the NFC is they're probably still the 3rd or 4th best team. Yeah. And I don't think you put them in the AFC and they're, they might sneak into the playoffs, but they're a 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah.
So it is pretty crazy about how bad the NFC is.
Yeah, the NFC's bad. And then just 2 other NFC matchups that I don't think we need to talk much about. Vikings-Falcons. I mean, they scored 59 points. I don't have much to say about there. Other than Josh Dobbs.
I was going to say, you can't just glaze over the Dobbs.
Yeah. Spread said he's not a starter. My guy showed up on 3 days, taught the center the cadence on the sideline 3 seconds before he went in the game, won the game.
Now, are we right? So I don't know what's the outlook on Hall. Any idea?
What was that I'm saying?
What's the outlook on Hall?
He was concussed. I think it was the first drive he got concussed, so you really can't. I don't take much from that.
No, I just meant so next week it'll probably still be Dobbs. Week after that,
it's Dobbs now. It's Dobbs the rest of the year, in my opinion.
So then we were right. The spread was wrong. They traded for a starting quarterback.
Yeah, it was. I think the whole plan was to get him there. He wasn't going to play this week. Start next week once he gets the system down a little bit. But then Hall's laying on his back, looking at the light, sleeping. So it was we got to kind of put him in the game right now.
Yeah, but didn't O'Connell say didn't he say we're not trading for a starter? We're trading for a backup?
I think that's just the whole thing of Kirk is our guy still. He's not going.
Oh, no. Not like that. In that, for the remainder of the season. Knowing Kirk's out for the remainder of the season, we're going to trade for someone, but it's going to be a backup.
Nah, I mean, maybe, but then when they got the call that Dobbs was available, it's like you want to go get Mitch Trubinsky or Mason Rudolph for a 7th, or you want to go get Josh Dobbs for a 6th, who started 6 games this year. It's probably just gonna take Dobbs there.
What do you think Minnesota's outlook is now?
I mean, I think they're still in that same boat I put them in last week. Once they landed Dobbs, could they still fight into the NFC wildcards picture? Yes. but I'm not sure that they make any kind of noise in the playoffs. Like, I think they're a first round exit if they get in.
I'd have to disagree with that because, okay, assuming Philly and San Fran get their buys, you don't think they can pick up a win in wild card weekend?
Well, only one team gets the bye, so they would catch more than likely the other team because they would likely be the last seed in, and they ain't going to San Fran.
I don't think they're going to be the last seed though. Okay, they might be. Never mind.
I think they would come in as the last seed, and they would play that 2 seed, which could get ugly.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a frustrated Philly team coming off a few losses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, like maybe they get like the Lions instead. But if it's like Minnesota, Seattle, who are you thinking on that?
They might be able to win that game. My worry though is that any playoff game for them, it's not going to be at home. They're not going to have the crowd behind them like they did in that comeback win on Sunday. Like they're in Seattle. We all know how Seattle gets with football games. That'll be a playoff game. If that's a close game, that place is going to be rocking for Seattle.
You're not going into Seattle and stealing a win.
They're not going into Dallas and winning. They're not going into Philly and winning. Like,
no,
I don't see many places that they go to and win in a playoff game. The only place that they could go and win a playoff game would be whoever wins the NFC South, but I don't think they're lucky enough to draw them.
Do division winners automatically get like a top seed?
It'll be whoever's the 1 seed. The best record of the 4 divisions gets the 1. The second best record gets the 2. Third best record gets the 3. Fourth gets the 4th, and then the wild.
So you're guaranteed a top 4 seed. You're not going to drop. Okay. Yeah. No, you're probably right. They're not 4. Yeah, because they'd have to be like the first wild card slot. That's not happening.
Yeah. And Dallas/Philly pretty much has that penciled in.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I just don't see them winning a playoff game. Could they upset the apple cart and take someone's spot? Very well could with the talent on that team. And Josh Dobbs should have been kept as the Pittsburgh backup. They should have never kept the 2 guys that are there. Hell, I'd rather have him under center than the starter right now. Because let's talk about a rookie quarterback, JC, who has more passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett in about 6 games. CJ Stroud looks like an absolute stud out there. He is going to make me eat every word about these Ohio State quarterbacks. And of all the guys that are going to make me eat my words about Ohio State quarterbacks, it's the guy who was supposed to be labeled as quote-unquote stupid, couldn't pass this IQ test that all the quarterbacks do good on that are actually good. And the guy says, I'm not a test taker, I'm a football player. And, man, he's packed those words up, hasn't he?
Yeah, big time. It's golly, if this Texan team kind of cleans himself up in the offseason, gets an O-line, maybe a weapon or 2, they're gonna be nasty, especially playing that division.
Oh, the weapons are there. It's just solidifying the offensive line and maybe getting a running back. Because Nico Collins and Tank Dell are those guys. Like, those 2 receivers are your main 2 guys. Like, Tank Dell looks really good. I think Tank Dell could be his wide receiver 1 in the end, and Nico Collins could just be like the supplement guy. And Dalton Schultz is your tight end isn't bad either.
That's true. Yeah, he's they are pretty well outfitted there in Texas.
Well coached team. Like this team. Who do you think is more likely to get into the playoffs of the 2 teams we just talked about? The Vikings in the NFC or the Texans in the AFC?
I
think that's a good question because I think there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance either team gets in.
I don't know. I don't see how the Texans get in though.
I'm pulling up wild
because they got to jump the Bills, the Jets.
I forgot. I completely forget that the AFC North kind of has a stranglehold on the entire wild card picture.
They do, man. That is wild. Like I was looking at the standings yesterday, or like someone posted them. Crazy that division. That division.
If you watched our preview videos, we talked about it. Said maybe all 4 of these AFC North teams could sneak into the playoffs. And
I mean, I don't know what the rest of their schedules look like. Like, are they going to beat up on each other though the rest of the way?
Well, I know this, all the teams have played each other at least once, except for the Steelers and the Bengals. They haven't played each other yet.
The Steelers, Bengals, and Browns, or Steelers have played 2, Bengals have played 2, Browns have played 3. Ravens have played. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah. Ravens have played 3, so they still got.
I think there's 2 locks in this division to make the playoffs unless you get injury, and that's Baltimore, sure. And that's Baltimore and Cincinnati. The other 2, if their defenses continue to play like this, it's going to be tough to take a spot from them.
I think you guarantee got 3 teams. I think either Pittsburgh or Cleveland will get in, if not both. And then you got to figure the Bills are going to,
Well, that would be the thing is if the Bills put it on that they could take one of these 3 spots.
Yeah.
It's going to be there's one of these good teams is getting left out of the playoff pictures. And I'm not rolling out Houston and the Jets from stealing a spot either. So that AFC playoff picture is going to be fun coming down the stretch. And I see our guys are asking in the chat. Johnny Nelson's in there. Our guy Kegg's in there. We got Clyde asking where spread. He's in Vegas. And our guy Perfect Rotations in the chat too. Talking NFL with him on Twitter this morning. We talked up that Tampa Bay game for next week. But how do you think that Tampa Bay looked in this game?
Great. Like I had money on Tampa. My money was on Tampa. I believe in Baker. Again, we talked about that pretty extensively on Friday, that I believe in Baker against crappy opponents. Like he's not going to come in and beat a top tier team, but I thought he's got no problem going in to beat the Texans. And then CJ Stroud just decided he wasn't going to let that happen. And sure enough, I mean, Baker carved up their defense, but Stroud just outplayed him.
Yeah, I think they look pretty good. I think we still have the perfect breakdown on them. I think we read that team perfectly. They lose to good teams, beat up on the bad teams. They should have won this game. They still covered with them not kicking the extra point. So that was great in the end if you had the 2.5 or the 3 because we didn't push. You got those wins. But yeah, I think this was just Stroud putting together the game that pretty much sealed up the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I think I had Tampa 1.5, so I did not.
Oh, you got them late.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So, oh well.
Yeah. We win some, we lose some. We'll get them back.
Indeed.
Well, let's talk about some of these 4 p.m. games. I mean, do we really need to talk much about Colts-Panthers? Bryce Young's just getting mauled back there. The offensive line couldn't block me and you from sacking them right now. They're bad. If they needed to keep their first-round pick in the worst way because they got to rebuild a lot of that team.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like I think Young, he's definitely showing signs of improvement. Like I definitely think there's hope for him. I don't think he's.
I think there's still a lot of hope for him. My biggest thing about him too was like when you watched him in college, that last year at Alabama, once like most of the talent was gone, he really didn't have many guys to throw the ball to. You would watch him walk up to the line, and he'd audible guys around, and all of a sudden, quick pass, guys running wide open. So the kid's smart. He could throw the football, but when you don't have time and you're my size, you're going to get mauled by those guys back there. So you got to be able to protect them.
Dude, he looks so small back there. Like he looks smaller than Kyler Murray.
Yeah, he's small, but you protect him, he'll carve a defense up for you. All right. I wish Spread was here to give him his victory lap on this one.
He's not coming in. I thought he was going to do a little drop in.
I talked to him on the phone earlier, spending some time with his girl. I think they said they're hitting up the Spear or something in Vegas or some going somewhere else. But man, his Raiders look good. They went out there and they dominated the Giants. I mean, and the Giants sent out Daniel Jones on a bum knee, and then the guy tears his ACL. Feel bad for him, but the Giants are in shambles. Vegas looked good, but can we just talk about the spot we have next week? This team is in Fade Central in their next game. They're celebrating that win, smoking cigars after the game. It's just not going to go well next week against the Jets.
No, and I think even if it does, you can just double down on the week after. Like it's the interim coach, he can sometimes pull together a win or two, but it's never, you're going to come back down to earth and play like the team everyone knows you actually are. Like we really think O'Connell's going to,
I don't think they didn't get much pressure on him either. Like the Jets will pressure him.
Right. It's in Vegas. In Vegas is a 2.5 point dog at the moment.
Yeah. I'll be on the Jets.
And then they go to Miami.
That might be another 70 ball.
Oh my gosh, man. That's oh man. Yeah, but you know what? Good for them. And I know, like, everyone's had a crappy boss, so just how great things are going to be for a little bit at least. But at the end of the day, the talent they're playing with.
Did you watch the video I sent you of how they had the meeting where the players all lashed out on McDaniels? This was right before he got fired.
No, you sent me that?
Yeah, they did the interviews on Fox Sports. He said that they all had, like, voiced their opinions. They didn't like what McDaniels was doing. And then McDaniels, on part of the coaches, had Pierce go up and talk. And Pierce went up and gave this speech about how, like, they need to find their own identity as a team, like, and think they could beat anyone. Like, they don't think they could beat anyone in this locker room. And then he made some comment about, like, the 2007 Giants and how they thought they could beat anyone. Then they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And they said after he made this speech and, like, the players were like, oh, like, maybe we're, like, getting all on the same page. They said McDaniels walked over to Pierce and was like, don't ever talk about the Patriots like that. So, you know, that killed everything in the room right there. They said Mark Davis was apologizing to players, saying, I'm sorry for wasting your season. So, like, Pierce might keep the job in the end if he does good, but the track record behind this, I don't think they do good after this. The team's not built either.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna, suddenly have a franchise quarterback in O'Connell.
No.
Team's got a lot of shortcomings. I definitely think, he can establish a rapport and a new identity for this team that will carry well for next season. But they'll still end up with like a top 10 pick.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the 4:00 game of the day. I mean,
oh my gosh.
And it got pretty sweaty at the end because Dallas was trying to win the game. But I mean, the Philly secondary literally jumped CeeDee Lamb on the 1-yard line and stomped him out to make sure he didn't get in the end zone. So that was good for our bet. Cash that one. I still think Philly's the cream of the crop in the NFL. I don't know about you, but I think that team is going to be very, very tough to beat. Everyone talks about their secondary being able to be thrown on. I know CeeDee Lamb had a monster game. Kevin Byard's been there, 2 weeks? Once that guy gets fully acclimated to the system, he's going to play the same spot CJ Gardner-Johnson played. This past defense is just going to get better as the year goes along. They get a bye week, so Hurts' little injury will be gone when they come back to play the Chiefs in 2 weeks on Monday night. Mm-hmm. And I think they absolutely pound the Chiefs into the ground that game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my goodness. I about had a heart attack watching that last drive.
Yeah.
That's like my only concern is like Philly tried to give that game away and Dallas just would not take it. I believe there was a penalty on every play of that final drive. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it. But at the end of the day, Philly got the job done, and that's really all you can ask for them. Also, always tougher playing divisional opponent. But I agree, man. They're just scrappy. They're built a little bit different. I think between them and San Francisco, I think they perfectly embody their own cities. And Philly is just a disgusting team that's going to get the job done.
How about the hard count on like 4th and 1 with the tush push? And it's like they think we're not going to go for it. Let's run the clock all the way down to 1 second and then just jam them at the line and just push them forward.
Yeah.
And the one play I wish they would have never showed, they showed it a couple weeks ago and it didn't work, was when they lined up in the tush push and Hurts dropped the back out of it and the dude ran off the line to the left. You should have saved that play for a big game because someone's going to fall for that.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. For sure. It's like the Dan Marino fake spike. Like, you got to save that for
like for instance, Roethlisberger used that at one point in the game, but it was like 4th quarter, no timeouts. It's either spike the ball with 2 seconds left, and him and AB had their little head nod. It was like fake spike. There goes AB past the DB, touchdown. And
I knew in like Dallas, they really well executed the fake spike at the end of the game too. I thought that was going to be 6.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that comment on the screen. Yeah, Dallas Goedert did fracture his forearm in that game. He's be out for 4 weeks. I think that hurts him a little bit. I don't think it's going to hurt them like tremendously. He was starting to come on and play well, but I think Stoll will be able to play in, do the blocking. They'll just force the ball more to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Yeah. They have 3 running backs. If they got to pound the ball more, they'll do that. We all know Hurts can run the ball too, so their offense will be fine.
Yeah, and to Jason's other comment about Pierce built different, high intensity. You can see the team playing hard for him. I don't disagree, but it's a lot like when Dan Campbell took over in Miami as interim head coach. Yeah, like they come in, they play hard, but let's not forget they just played the Giants. Like they're horrible. You should clown this team. So it's just, yeah, they're playing hard, but at the end of the day, you still are who you are. The talent you have is what it is. So if you're going up against good teams, you're still not going to perform well.
Yeah, I agree there. 1 p.m. game we didn't touch on. Washington, New England. I mean,
yeah,
the game went exactly how we thought it would. It was just, it was a game of, I don't want my money involved in that because that looks like a stressful game to watch. And seeing everything come across red zone, it's like, there goes Howell running through the opposite end zone, getting sacked or throwing a pick. Oh, now there's New England points on the board that shouldn't be there. So it was just a game that was just ugly. I think we keyed in that game pretty well. You don't got to bet every game, and that was one of the ones you just stayed stress-free and stayed away from it.
Yeah, I mean, and also, how awesome is it to see the Patriots at 2-7?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not big on Mac Jones, but that last interception was not his fault.
No,
that ball exploded off of Juju's hands and went right to the D-back. Like,
yeah,
I find it funnier that Juju can't catch a football. He should be.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. If anything, it was impressive that he was able to throw the ball that hard.
Yeah, so. Let's talk about Sunday night. Another bet we cashed. Bengals.
Oh, yeah.
They're back. They're going to be right up there in the AFC. I think that they're going to cause a lot of problems. They're still priced nice. They're my pick to win the AFC. I think they match up with Philly in the Super Bowl. And Buffalo's got to get some guys back on that defense because their defense is going to get shredded by anyone and everyone. And Burrow being mobile now is just opening up this offense for Cincinnati even more. Tight ends are getting involved. You've seen Hudson. You've seen Irv Smith in that game. Even Drew Sample caught a touchdown. So there's weapons all over this field for Burrow. Cincinnati's going to be a problem the rest of the year. And our guy Kegs in the chat saying MVP. I'd be with you, but I got a Hurts ticket at 12-1, and they're looking pretty nice right now. So I'm rooting for that guy.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll skew the voting. Like if he does, kind of put these monster numbers, if he gets a little bit of bump considering how he started the season, I don't know if that helps him or hurts him in the MVP race.
I think it won't hurt him much just because now I had this happen to me a few years ago when I bet Brady. It was Rodgers back-to-back year. Brady started off the year red hot, killed it all year, got to the final 3 weeks. He put up 2 duds. And it lost him the MVP. Those 3 weeks in the beginning mean nothing because Rodgers did the same thing. He dilly-dallied around for 3 weeks, put it on in the end of the year, stole the MVP in the end. It's all about how you finish. They won't.
Yeah, especially too. Yeah, so I would agree. Especially too if he rounds this out and ends up like with the top seed.
Like, they win like 10 years in a row. Yeah, like he'll be there in the end.
Yeah. So you like Cincinnati over Kansas City?
Yes. I just because this is the first. I know Kansas City was able to pull off the matchup last year, but that wide receiver room last year with I know it was Juju and a couple other guys were still there. It was better than it is that this year. I think their defense was a little bit better. Kelsey was a year younger. I think that their offense won't be able to keep up with Cincinnati's in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, like I do agree that Cincinnati's playing better, but the Chiefs just feel like what we had with the Patriots. It's just like why continue to lose money betting against them. So I guess that's kind of my hang up. And knowing this is almost Kansas City's MO too.
If the Chiefs are Brady, then Cincinnati's got to be Peyton with all his weapons, right?
Yeah. I think it's perfect. It's a perfect analogy. And they do this thing too where they like just steadily get better throughout the season. And by the time playoff rolls around, it's just the Chiefs we've seen for years.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to be there in the end. But I think it'll always be these two teams pretty much in the end in the AFC for a couple years. Maybe one of them drops out, another one pops in. But like, I think 90% of these games or one of these two teams will be there in the end.
And I think the other thing that's really important right now is just how much better odds you can get on Cincinnati right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Chiefs are the favorite. And Cincinnati, that's paying out 14-1 to win the Super Bowl.
And another bet I think could be a good one here. Just because our guy Keg said he got the MVP bet at 18-1. I see it's down to 9-1 on FanDuel now after that game. This offensive player of the year race, judging by the odds as of right now, they're trying to say this is a 3-man race. Tyreek Hill's favored at plus 140. Christian McCaffrey's plus 160. AJ Brown's trailing at 6-1. AJ Brown can't keep up those ridiculous stat lines. Christian McCaffrey's touchdowns, they're going to regress eventually. I think he's going to get hurt. He's already hurt. And Tyreek Hill at any moment could lose Tua, or that Miami offense sputters. Jamar Chase with Burrow coming back, and they look like they're going to start to hit their stride, and he's 20-1. And we know this dude can explode at any moment for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in one game, or rip off 3 weeks of that. At 20-1, I think that could be a bet.
Yeah, you think he can catch up though?
I think he can catch up, yeah. A guy like Chase can 100% catch up. He could have one of those games where it's like, he scored how many fantasy points this week? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he put up a 50 on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Like, it totally could happen. It's just that
the MVP bet's probably the better bet, but I think he has the shot at that Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's just that McCaffrey and Hill mean so much more to their team.
Like say this plays out how we want it. Like, Eagles do good, Chiefs do good, Cincinnati comes roaring back in. The MVP race is probably between Mahomes, Hurts, and Burrow. And if Mahomes just continues what he does and Hurts does, it's going to be very hard to give it to either of. It's going to be hard to jump with Burrow, either of those guys, because they'll make the argument that Mahomes is doing it with nothing and Hurts is just got the rushing touchdowns and everything else. So that's where I think if they want to give an award to Cincinnati in the end, that they can pivot to that and be like, well, Chase helped Burrow get there. Here's his award.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. That if they do come back and then end up top seed, they're going to want to give somebody on that team an award. So I'd have to concur with that.
Yeah, definitely like that. Well, let's break down this Monday night game. I mean,
okay,
this is a weird game in my opinion, because I see 77% of the money's on the Jets. I know they're +3 at home, and the Chargers are coming East Coast. The Jets have a much better defense, but if Herbert gets to 24, can Wilson catch up? I don't think so. That's my worry here. Is like, I like taking points with the Jets with how good their defense is, but with a quarterback like Herbert on the other side, I'm always worried that he could just have a big game and he could just play the catch-up game of, I got to 24, can you get to 21? And I'm not sure the Jets can. So I lean the Chargers win this game. My only bet in this game that I really love, Eckler touchdown -105. He's got so many different routes to get there. It's not just the rushing. He could easily catch a dump off and get there. And we've seen the Jets be susceptible to these pass catching back. So Eckler touchdown, lean the Chargers win the game. What are your thoughts?
I like that Eckler play for sure. I mean, my favorite play here is the over. I just think 40 is really low for this game because I agree. I think it's going to be something in that 20 to 24 neighborhood. And it's basically the Jets or the over. It is the only way to play this because the Jets have scored more than 20 points only twice this season. Once was in week 1. They put up 22 on Buffalo, and then they put up 31 on the Broncos. It's like, well, guess what? You're not playing the Broncos this week, so you're not going to – it's going to be much more difficult. It's just the Chargers. You just never know what you're going to get out of them. Like, I think on paper, the Chargers should destroy the Jets. But just the inconsistency we see from them makes it hard. But if this does turn into anything resembling a shootout, if it's a high-scoring game, I would agree it's got to be the Chargers. So
I just don't think it gets to the shootout as much as it could just be like we're just pitter-pattering down the field, kicking field goals, scoring a couple touchdowns here and there. And they just they just get too far away, and it's like, shit, Zach Wilson needs to throw the ball for us to come back now, and we aren't coming back with that. Keg saying in the chat, Eckler 60 plus. Let me throw this up here. 60 plus receiving, +330, 70 plus, +500. Love both of those.
That's
also pulled up
odds.
his 2+ touchdowns. His 2+ touchdowns is 5-1. I will gladly bet that after this dude has started off slow all year. And we've seen him do it last year. He didn't score. and then he ripped off a 3-touchdown game. So 5-1 on 2 touchdowns for Eckler. I'll bet his anytime, and I will bet his 2 touchdowns there.
So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take the over on this one. I've been taking the under on most of these primetime games, but this 40.5 just feels too low. Like I said, I imagine something in that,
if you really want to have
40.
fun,
yeah, of course.
Eckler 3 touchdowns, 26-1. I mean, if there's a game on this schedule for him to break out and be back and do this, it's right here. No Josh Palmer, which means Keenan Allen's getting Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed, whichever side he goes to, and they likely bracket him. The backup receivers behind them, Quentin Johnston sucks. Everybody behind them, like the Davis kid, he's all right, but there's really no other weapons, so Eckler's going to touch the ball a shit ton. I think this could be it.
You're not worried about Keenan Allen?
I just think it's one of those things. It's when the D-backs coach walks into the Jets D-back room and looks at Sauce Gardner's and these guys, they go, "You guys got one guy tonight. You guys cover him, you bracket him, you make sure he doesn't get the ball all that much, and force them to beat us with these other guys." I think it's
counterpoint. Yeah, the Jets know all they got to do is shut down Eckler.
But that's where I think it opens up. I think it's harder to stop Eckler out of the backfield because he can run the ball between the tackles. He can run it to the outside. He can catch screens. He can run little out routes. To where like Keenan Allen's going to be like, all right, you're going to run underneath, or you're going to try and go deep on us. Like you're running one or the other route. Like he could get pelted with targets still and still maybe get like 6 for 70 and a touchdown. But I just think the more likely outcome is through Eckler here if they're going to win this game.
I agree with this, so I'm probably going to bet the 2+ for Eckler.
You ain't sprinkling 3+ at 26-1 with me. When he's got 2 at halftime and it's a close game, I'm like, JC, you should have been on this 3 touchdown. We got 30 minutes to get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have. 26-1. Like you bet $4 to win a unit. Like that.
That's you don't got to go crazy on it. So I think it's worth the bet just with the way their team's set up, and he's gonna get a shit ton of usage in this game.
Yeah. All right, I'll do it. But yeah, okay, why not? Yeah, also too, he gets 3 touchdowns. There's no way the over doesn't cash.
Exactly. So yeah, there's 21 points on the board right there. So
right there. That's how we get the over is through Eckler.
Yeah. So I don't really have much more on that game. Do you? I think we can just
it was something I've kind of been going back and forth on. Just I think there's a very valid argument you can make for either team. On first glance, love the changeover. At first glance, I was on the Jets, but the more I think about it, it should be the Chargers.
Yeah. And then any overall thoughts from just the whole week in NFL before we jump into the NBA slate?
No, it was pretty predictable week. We kind of hit the big spots of what we kind of learned from the week. So excited for week 10. Excited to be back on top.
I think our shows on Friday and Tuesday, or Fridays and Monday last week, were super profitable. Outside of me and yours Miami take, because we were wrong on that. We tried to trust them and they screwed us. So,
but I'm very excited to jump into some NBA because I have not done much NBA handicapping to this point. I kind of like to get about this deep. I like to be a little deeper in to really get my reads, but we're good enough. We're gonna find some plays and hopefully win some money.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna dive into these NBA games. I know our guy Clyde's still in the chat, so I have spreads projections, Clyde, so we'll have all those numbers. We don't have to worry about that. Let's dive into this first game. We got Dallas visiting Orlando. The Magic are a 4.5-point favorite in this game. And everyone's going to look at this game and go, why are they favorited? Well, Luka's got a questionable tag. Kyrie's got a questionable tag. And they played last night. So I don't think these guys play tonight. I'm probably just full fading this game because it looks like Jonathan Isaac has a Q tag also. He's been big on defense for the Magic. And Markelle Fultz and Gary Harris are out. It's just an ugly game. Guys are missing. I don't want to play a total and maybe target an under when Jaden Hardy's going to be running the offense. He can speed up the tempo a ton for Dallas. So just a complete stay away from me. If Luka's rolled in, maybe I sprinkle a triple-double on him because we know he can get there easily. But outside of that, nothing in this game for me. How about you?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Pretty much exact same thing. Like I looked at the spread, I go, what the heck is going on? And then I looked at the injury report. Is always the next thing I do, and it's loaded. So with that though, easy play. Banchero over 20.5 minus 110.
Yeah, I don't hate that call. My only worry is he started the year very slow. His offense, like it seems like he's almost taking a more of approach of like, I want to be a facilitator through this offense more. Like, let me get involved in other things other than just scoring. But he could put the ball in the bucket with the best of them, and they could be down some guys. He could get more usage here too. And Dallas ain't the best defensive team.
Yeah, he's only averaging 17 points a game this season, but it's completely banking on those injuries. Who's going to be out? He's going to get more usage, and those are going to be up. I can't quite get there with the double for him, but I just think 20.5. I think that's an easy number, easy for him to get there. So that's the one bet I have in this game.
Yeah, like that. All right, let's dive into another game. I think this game could be fun, just from a viewer's perspective. We're missing a couple guys, but this can be a high-paced game. Should be a ton of points. Not sure I want to get involved on the total because it is 238. That is really high, but San Antonio's heading to Indiana. Victor's going to play in this game. Devin Vassell is out. Keldon Johnson's got a Q tag. That's the only injuries we got here. Halliburton and those guys are going to be on the floor. Indiana looks good. I was high on them preseason. I thought they were going to be really good. Halliburton leads that offense very well. I think he's one of the better point guards in the league at this point. But they're laying 9 tonight versus a Spurs team that they've looked decent, but they push the tempo a lot too. And their second best players out because I consider Victor their best at this point. Vassell has been their second best. And if Keldon Johnson misses, I don't know where their offense really comes from outside of Victor and maybe a little bit of Trey Jones. So lean the Spurs plus the 9. We'll probably just play some Victor props here. His blocks are still too low. You could ladder those up 3+, 4+, 5+. You seen OG Anunoby last night. Pin him under the rim. Thought he had a free bucket. Victor just put his arms out like this and just grabbed the ball and said, "What are you doing? I'm 7'6". You can't score on me." Tried to shoot a 3 over him. He batted that down. I think he ended the game with 5 blocks. So love his props there. I'll still bet his double-double. It's down to about plus 150 because it's minutes. His minutes are ticking up. So his stats are going to tick up with that too. Getting the plus 400 days are over, JC. We had fun with that for a couple games. We got one of them home. But yeah, lean the Spurs here. Other than that, just the Victor props.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't understand why it's such a large spread. I honestly don't hate the money line in this one for San Antonio, just because Indiana has not been playing that well. There is the problem of San Antonio playing back-to-back that definitely kind of, could result in them losing a close game. I think plus 9's a solid bet. I don't hate the over. 238 is pretty high, but these teams are both 5-1 at the over/under. So it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to place those wagers. I don't know if I'm going to quite get there, but wouldn't blame anyone who did. I think they're solid looks, but I think there's just better spots on the board tonight.
Yeah, I think there's definitely better spots on the board. We got some plays that are coming up in some of these games. Let's talk about another game though. Washington heads to Philly. This injury report isn't as bad. You got 3 Q tags: Denny, Gafford, Kispert for the Wizards, and then Batum is off the injury report for Philly. So they have all their pieces coming in from the Harden trade now. I think Philly just kind of just does their thing here, wins the game, names their score. What can we get on like an Embiid 30+ points and they win? Plus 132 on that. I love that because I don't see a big on the floor stopping him for Washington. And these guys are just going to be able to feed him the ball down low. He should absolutely feast here. He could score 40 in this matchup. The only thing that worries me is they walk them off the floor. And he gets to about 25 and they're up 20 going into the fourth. So that's my worry there. But that would be my bet in this one, overlaying the 11.5 with Philly. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have any interest in laying 11.5 with Philly, but I'm sure not going to put down, take 11.5 on the Washington side. So again, just doing the stay away spot. And what just a commentary on this game, I got to say, Jordan Poole has been my favorite player to watch this season. Just the swagger on that guy. I don't know the last time we've seen something like this. Just someone be so terrible and so confident. I just think we should all be more like Jordan Poole.
We haven't seen it in the NBA in a while, but Josh Rosen was up there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
He said he was going to make the 12 guys pay that got drafted in front of him, and I don't think he made any of them pay.
No, he sure didn't. It's just straight comedy. I mean, him and Kuzma, it's the perfect.
What do you think about the total in this game? I was trying to convince Spread. I think this is an over game. I think that 229 might be a little too low. Like, Philly could just absolutely hang 130 here, but their defense has looked very good to start the year, and they've held teams very low. But those teams were Toronto twice, Miami, whose offense sputters all regular season, and they held another bad team. I believe it was Phoenix. They held Phoenix to a low score on an early Sunday game. I think this 229 might be a little low. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, Philly's put up a minimum of 114 all season long. And then, as you know, with the exception of the game against Boston, Washington put up 113 or more. So it could be close, but definitely no reason to take the under.
Yeah, I agree there.
I might end up sprinkling that. You might add that into a parlay, like take Embiid, take the money line, and then like over 225 or something.
Yeah, knock it down a little bit, maybe. Yeah. I like that
Mm-hmm.
idea. Let's get into this last early start game. Golden State heads to Detroit. Golden State looked tired last night against Cleveland. And their injury report, it looks like Steph's going to play. It looks like Chris Paul's off the injury report. Same thing with Clay. Draymond's got a Q tag for left ankle soreness. So,
is it the ankle? Is it the ankle for Draymond?
Yeah, they're saying left ankle, but I don't think that's ankle. And then as for the other side of the ball, you got Monty Morris still out, Joe Harris still out, Alec Burks doubtful, Jaden Ivey questionable. This is my first play of the day, JC. Give me Detroit plus the 7. At home, they're getting 7. Golden State looked tired last night. Even with Steph and these guys off the injury report, they're going to look tired again tonight. Clay can't defend anyone. These young guys for Detroit are going to run up and down the floor. I think they keep this game very close. I think there's a possibility that they might even try and steal it late. Give me the plus 7 on Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, both teams played yesterday, but Detroit just got embarrassed by Phoenix, so they'll have a little fire underneath them. And
that probably limited some of the starters' minutes also, so you don't got to worry about those guys really being tired.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we just those injuries on Golden State. I'd have to concur with that one. More so though, I like the over here. Golden State's been putting up Golden State-like numbers in Detroit. They're also well over 110. So, I mean, Golden State wins like 115, 110. We get a cover and the over. I might parlay that.
Yeah, I like that also. That's about it for me on that game.
Well said, perfect rotation.
Left ankle. That's a good one.
Yeah. Testicular contusion. Normally what they have that listed under.
Let's get into another game I think we got to bet. We get James Harden's debut for the Clippers, and they head to New York to play the Knicks. You look at this injury report, Terrence Mann's still out, and RJ Barrett's got a Q tag. I don't think RJ Barrett's all that important because of the guys on the bench that could fill in his minutes, like a Quentin Grimes, and these guys could play his minutes and be fine. They can go heavy on the guards and just go quickly. I think that this is an easy spot to bet the Knicks in a pick'em game. James Harden is a guy that's going to have to come in. He's going to take the ball out of guys' hands, and he's going to want to pound the rock. Yeah, he's a great passer. But these guys, you even seen it in videos when he walked in the locker room. A lot of guys weren't fond of him getting there. They know the baggage that comes with him. It's going to take a minute for this to work out. And we know how Ty Lue is with rotations. It was like they're going to play guys, try and see what fits as the season goes on. They're going to have games where they basically throw stuff away and just try and throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. I think game 1 could easily be one of those where they try that. The other thing is putting Harden into the starting lineup is taking out Powell. That knocks your defense down a ton because Harden and Westbrook ain't defending anybody. I know Kawhi and PG are pretty good perimeter defenders. Zubac ain't the best paint defender either, so you got 3 liabilities out there. I'm on the Knicks here. I think they win this game pretty easily. Everyone wants to bet the shiny new toy in the Clippers. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. Give me the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got to reassess. I saw this morning Harden was questionable, but now he's probable. So that totally affects things. His point prop sitting at 14.5.
My worry there is I don't think he shoots the ball much. I think he just kind of comes out, tries to run the pick and roll, tries to pass the ball around. It's his first game all year. Like, how conditioned is he?
I mean, I think he shoots the ball. It's just a question of whether or not that ball goes in.
Yeah. The other thing I'd want to look at too is the last time he did this, when he forced his way out of Houston to Philly, or when he forced his way out of Brooklyn to Philly. That first game in Philly, I'd love to check his stats there and see how he did. Because remember, everyone was saying he was fat coming into Brooklyn, then he showed up in Philly, and it was like, where'd all the weight go? It's like those were just clothes underneath his warm-ups. And I'm pretty sure he played really good in that first game. So if that's the case, I could see him coming out here and maybe just being like, oh, everyone thought I was done. I was quitting on Philly. Let me give you a nice, solid performance here.
That was the 21-22 season, right? Yeah. And we want the numbers in Philly. It's not popping up for me. Now, the other thing, too, that I was definitely more interested in was the over. And the problem with this is Clippers have been participating in some extremely high-scoring games, but the Knicks kind of picked up where they did last season, and they scored under 90 in several games. So slightly concerning, in my opinion. Where are you at on that? Because it's just such a low number at like 222, 223 and a half.
220. Yeah, 220. Yeah, 222 and a half. I lean the over too, just because I don't think Clippers are going to be able to play defense. I think the Knicks are going to put up a ton here. Julius Randle's shot has been so bad to start the year. Like, he's got to break that streak eventually. Could it happen here? Yes. Could it happen? Never, of course. But I think eventually that shooting picks back up. Also, how in the hell are Russell Westbrook and James Harden going to cover Jalen Brunson? We watched Jalen Brunson cook other point guards that can actually defend. Like, Brunson is going to have a huge game in this matchup. The performance double of him to score 25 and they win is plus 205. 30 plus and win is plus 390. I'll bet both of those. I think he leads this team to a victory tonight and just pours in buckets on this Clippers team.
Okay. I'm more likely, yeah. I could just see going either way. With Harden, like, it's even really ugly, so that's kind of why I'm staying away from a winner. But I was leaning towards the over, and I'm going to roll the dice on that Harden prop just because he's either going to put up 5 or 25. So yeah. Maybe grab an all total, maybe like 20 plus. But his first game in Philly, he put up 27 in 35 minutes.
Yeah, so yeah, he could easily show up tonight and go out there, play a bunch of minutes, ball out. But I still think just with all the bodies,
8 rebounds.
What was that?
12 assists and 8 rebounds as well.
Yeah, he tried to triple-double that first game.
Yeah, he did.
Well, let's dive into a game that I think I'm going to stay away from because both of these teams have been thorns in my side to start the NBA season. Atlanta heads to Oklahoma City to play. Shea caught a Q tag to start the day. Then he became probable, then back to questionable. I can't do anything with this game, JC, because OKC at any moment. It could be 10 minutes before tip-off and SGA doesn't play, and that line jumps back to Atlanta -4, which it was this morning. It's a pick-em right now. Atlanta on the road has screwed me too many times, so I don't want to back them. I can't pull the trigger on OKC with the news. I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's hot right now too, and that's not who this team is. 4 wins against some impressive teams, winning handedly as well. So knowing, like you said, with Oklahoma City, kind of waiting for them to pop off, find their stride, and not knowing whether or not SGA is going to play, I completely agree. I have no interest in touching this game.
For sure. All right, let's dive into a finals matchup from a few years ago in the bubble. Lakers visit Miami as +1.5 point underdogs, and check out this list of injury reports. A lot of these are green, though. So you got Bam, Thomas Bryant, Jimmy Butler, Haywood Highsmith, Jaime Jaquez, Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson, Orlando Robinson, and Drew Smith all rolled in for Miami. Caleb Martin out. Nikolai Jovic questionable. RJ Hampton doubtful. And then for the Lakers, Jared Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura out, Taurean Prince in. Me and Spread talked before going over numbers. Is it just us, or do the Lakers always beat Miami?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's Lakers or pass for me, but with the bodies missing and how the Lakers have looked to start the season, I think I'm going to pass.
Okay, well, actually, I was wrong. In their last 10, the Heat are 6-4, straight up 4-6 at the spread. In their last 4, they split. But it does. It's funny. I was looking at this, and the numbers make it look like it's LA to bet, but I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
Especially being in Miami. I feel like Spoelstra, he's always got something special for LeBron. So, but with those injury reports this early in the season, what we've seen from Miami to this point, this is another game I got no interest in playing.
Yeah, I like to fade Miami when they're laying like up to 6 points or more because they just don't blow teams out. So that's when I like to target Miami, not in spots like this. This next game, I think the total is really wrong in this one. Milwaukee heads to Brooklyn, and we get a game with Milwaukee minus, where'd that go on my board? -5 with a total of 233.5. Now, I know Milwaukee's, their offense hasn't, or their defense hasn't looked all that good with Dame Lillard there, and they've put up points. But this Brooklyn team has got defenders all over the floor. They could stop a lot of guys. Ben Simmons is a guy I think you could throw at Giannis and has the body that can, he's not going to stop him. No one can stop Giannis. But he can get in front of him, move laterally with him. He's strong enough to maybe keep him out of the paint a little bit, force him to shoot some of these fadeaways. Brook Lopez will be down there also. I think this game is lined similar to how the Milwaukee Nets games were lined when Kyrie and KD were still there. I think that total's way too high. I don't think this clears 225. Give me the under here in this game. What are your thoughts?
Wow. Not only that, but it opened at 230 and it's gone all the way up to 233.5. So, I mean, you're really just kind of fading the market overall. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. But the mismatch in my mind is the thought. I don't know why Milwaukee's only favored by 5 points here. I can't find a single reason to take Brooklyn.
They've been very good to me this year, so I just didn't want to fade them, to be honest. And Milwaukee hasn't shown me that they can pound teams into the ground. So if this becomes a late game where it's like they're hanging around and they could win this game, I know he does it a lot, but how many times can Milwaukee just go, here's the ball, Dame, go win? Like, we have nothing else right now. Like, you got to outscore these guys. A defensive team like that, like imagine that scenario happens. Brooklyn's up about 4 points going into the last 5 minutes. Giannis is getting kind of bottled up. He can't really do anything. Nobody else is really hitting shots. You're like, Dame, you got to score the ball for us. And then Brooklyn turns around and goes, all right, well, we're going to put Mikal Bridges on him. Now he's got a very lanky defender on him that could slow him down. I think Milwaukee could easily win this game, but I think they have to pound them. I don't think they can win close games right now, outside of Dame willing victories.
It's a compelling argument, and Brooklyn is 5-0 at the spread, but they're going to have to take a loss at some point, and I think it's right here.
Yeah, it very well could be. And another thing on the total, too, is like you look at Brooklyn's scores this year. They had a game where they put up 133 in a game. But that was against Charlotte, and they shot 56% in that game. Milwaukee's defense doesn't look good to start the year, but they ain't as bad as Charlotte. So I don't think they could put up that many points, and I think they could slid on the Milwaukee side. I think that 230 is way too high. All right. Here's another game. This one I think is a gift, JC, because I think one team super overvalued because of a big win they had, and I think this other team is an auto bet at anything below -5. And that's the Boston Celtics visiting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Boston is a problem for the entire league. It's going to be damn near impossible to score on their first 3 positions with Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Jaylen Brown out there. Tatum's also a pretty good defender. Porzingis looks like he's just manning the paint and getting blocks. The only thing here is you look at the injury report. Yeah, no Derek White, and Kristaps has got a Q tag on him. But I'm not sold as much on Minnesota. Like, even if both those guys miss, like if Kristaps misses too, I think Al Horford could stretch the bigs out for Minnesota and get those guys to the outside. I'm not as afraid of Cat or Gobert. I think Jaylen Brown and these other defenders can slow down Ant. And I think Tatum and them guys can score in Minnesota. They're overvalued due to the big win over Denver, and Denver being the defending champs. I think Boston rolls in here and smashes. They've dominated their last 10 trips to Minnesota. I'll get you the exact numbers during your breakdown. But they're going to go in there. They're going to win this game by double digits, and this 2.5 is going to look free. Give me Boston.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was one of the spreads that jumped out at me when I was looking at the board. I got no clue why it's 2.5. That's such a perfect number too. There's not even if they pull all their starters, they're still going to win by at least 5 or 6. So it's just far, far, far too low. I don't know what the numbers are in Minnesota, but I can tell you the Celtics are 9-1 in their last 10 against the T-Wolves, and Boston is just bulldozing through the rest of the league, and that's certainly not going to stop in Minnesota. Really easy bet here.
Yeah.
As far as the total, Boston's 4-1 to over/under, and Minnesota's 1-4. However, that number has come from Boston doing the heavy lifting in all these totals. So if you're going to take the bet, take the over, but I think just take
and this is the matchup that everyone's they're calling. Well, it is, because if you look at the rankings, but everyone's making it a big deal. It's the number 1 ranked offense versus the number 1 ranked defense.
Right. And so that's why I probably wouldn't take the over, but I'll just take the 2.5, take that free roll. And
we're in the regular season right now, and offense overtakes defense in this sport when it comes to regular season.
Oh,
now talk to me in March, April. I'll tell you defense overtakes offense in those games. Right now, though, Boston's going to put up points. And those numbers, they're 11-2 ATS last 13 versus Minnesota, 6-1 straight up their last 7 trips to Minnesota. They're going to go up there. They're going to win handily. They're going to do their job all over Boston in this spot. On to the next game. Let's see what we got. We got Kings visiting the Rockets. This is an ugly one. I believe, we got Tari Eason out, Trey Lyles out, and De'Aaron Fox is still out with his ankle injury. These two matched up a couple days ago. Houston put it on them. I was on the Kings in that game, took a loss. I think I'm just going to avoid the Kings until Fox gets back. I can't pull the trigger on the Rockets, so I'm just to stay away from this one. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they're on a back-to-back with each other. Kings took care of them handedly, but again, I mean, especially early in the season, we typically see a split with these weird back-to-backs that they do in alternating cities. So I completely agree. This game is of no interest to me.
Yeah, agree there. Let's dive into this Utah-Chicago matchup. And I'd have a lot more interest in this game if we were flip-flopped on the home and away teams. If this game was in Utah, I'd be all over Utah. Sure. In Chicago, they're only +4. I can't bet them here plus the 4. Chicago's a weird team. I don't think they're good at all, but they have talent, and they can win games. But other times, they look like a bottom 5 lottery team. So I can't back them here. Markkanen's heading back to Chicago. I know he took a trip back there last year, I believe, after he was traded. But, I mean, he's been a machine from behind the three-point line. Just give me him to hit 5+ threes in this game at a nice +200. He's going to let him huck. He's hit 4+ in almost every game this year. Can easily get to that 5 in a nice revenge game.
Yeah, that's more than anything I have on this one. Just two teams I'll be honest, haven't watched it all this season, so I don't have much of a read, and I agree that it's more challenging betting Utah on the road, so I'm going to have to agree with you there. You're right, though, about Markkanen. He's done incredible from behind the arc. And then as far as last season, he was in Chicago in January, put up 28 and 2 from 7 from behind the arc.
Yeah, so we're going to improve on that 2 of 7, but the points were there. So points in the volume were there. If the shots will fall, he's going to crush this time. Let's finish up the slate. And this is another game I think could be a little tricky just due to injury news. You got Denver hosting the Pelicans, and Denver's a 6.5-point favorite on a total of 221. Jamal Murray's already out with a hamstring injury. You got Trey Murphy and these guys out for the Pelicans, and CJ McCollum's also out now for the Pelicans. If Brandon Ingram has one of these moments where he goes on his period again and he gets rolled out 5 minutes before the game, Zion's going to be out there by himself. And we all know Jokic could do it by himself. I don't think Zion can. I'm not betting the -6.5 on the Nuggets because I think that could be a little too many points in the end. Just give me good old reliable Jokic triple-double and win.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely with Murray out, it's going to be on Jokic to carry this team. If you really want to get fancy with it, you might throw in a Zion under or something because that is a complete mismatch with Jokic.
I don't think Jokic will guard him. I think he gets Aaron Gordon. Jokic will be on Joval.
That's fine with me. I still think that's going to be a mismatch. And there you know that's who they got to stop. Like the game plan, McCollum's out, shut down Zion. We got
they could even go the route of like how teams used to try and stop Milwaukee, where it's like just build a wall in the paint, force him to shoot. We'll make the other guys beat us too. Let's see what we got from here. So, like that.
Definitely disappointing though from New Orleans, like having Alvarado and McCollum. McCollum shouldn't be out too long. I know he's got that collapsed lung, but that's
that could work its way. That could either linger for a while or he could be back soon.
Yeah, that's true. Like I know, like that's not super serious as far as like long term, but I don't know from a cardio perspective what the rehab on that looks like.
Yep, but, man, we got NFL and NBA done in an hour and 6 minutes. JC, I told you in the chat beforehand. I was like, we're getting this show done nice and efficiently. We're giving the people a combo show, and we got it done.
We sure did.
And it's time for best bets. You can go football, you can go NBA, you can give multiple. It doesn't matter. Let's hear it. What do you got?
Have you ever gotten a reality check from your sportsbook app?
Yeah, I get those all the time. It'll tell you how much money you gambled. My favorite's when I scroll through and I'm just checking lines, and it's like, you've been on this app for 15 minutes and you gambled $0.
That's how much. Are you saying I need to gamble more? I've never done that before. I guess I'm really don't have it open because it's got my phone open and I'm placing my bets as we go. Yeah, it's like you've been logged in for 30 minutes and told me how much I wagered. Yeah, I'm well aware. Anyways, I'm going out there. I'm taking the James Harden over 15.5 points. That is my NBA best bet. And then I'll just give up my NFL one as well. And that's over 40.5. Straight money wins money, though. So we're not parlaying those. Play them straight and, looking at a push or a very profitable night.
Cool. I'm going to give the people a little bit of a trifecta here. I'm going to give them an NFL one. I'm going to give them a player performance double, and I'll give them a side in the NBA. We're going to go. You can do this however you want. Give me the Eckler anytime touchdown as the main. I'm betting the 2+ at 5-1, and I'm betting the 3+ at 26-1 because I think this could be the game he finally breaks free. As for NBA, the player performance double, Embiid 30+ and win at +130, knock those 11 points off. He can easily crush this Washington front court. And as for the side, give me Boston -2.5 visiting Minnesota. They're the best team in the league, and they're going to show it tonight. They're going to pound this team.
Love it.
Cool. I think we did very good. I think we showed we don't need our guy spread, but I know he's watching, so hope he's enjoying his time in Vegas. And it's time for those words of wisdom. JC, you got anything special for us today?
Well, it's funny is I had my words of wisdom planned for if the Raiders lost, and they did not. So I had a really special one planned for spread. So I'm happy that I can't use them because it meant we got a nice, easy win. So I'm just going to go with the super generic one, type of thing that maybe your grandma has cross-stitched on her wall. Nobody is you, and that is your power. Thank you.